Welcome, I'm Sulaiman Aledeh. Now, Nigeria's electoral umpire, Independent National Electoral Commission for non-Nigerians, that's the name, is restating its readiness for the big elections this year. But doubts linger as Nigerians prepare for major polls. Now, political parties have toured the country on a campaign, selling their choice candidates and making usual promises and spicing it up with some bit of dancing. That's a part of the campaign. Now, voters are torn between candidates. Some of them have made up their minds, but hundreds of thousands are still undecided. Many young Nigerians have collected their voter cards and probably in never-seen proportions have indicated an interest in fighting for their future. Arguably the most crucial election in the world at the moment, the 2023 elections see Africa's biggest nation try again to repair what's broken and fortify its strength. Now, just how much is the country ready for this moment? What is the state of the voters' mind, and what are the parties saying and promising just about a month to the 7th election since 1999? What is up Nigeria's sleeves? Kunle Lawal, Executive Director, Electoral College, joins me live in the studio. Good to see you, and thanks for your time.
It's always a pleasure, Sulaiman.
Well, the elections, it should be 31 days now to the big day. We're doing the countdown, and for you and the Electoral College, you've always given Nigerians a sense of what to expect, perhaps also to sensitize people. In the absence of sensitization coming from political parties, which is also a part of our responsibility, just INEC and the NGOs, make a sense for us. The collection of voter cards is one big talk, and perhaps, I don't know if it's something that the Electoral College at the moment is also looking at.
Yes, of course. First and foremost, we've tried to sell the idea or market the idea that if you don't have a voter's card in Nigeria, you're not a Nigerian. Mm-hmm. We've tried to play the position that's more important than an international passport. And we feel it's that way because it's the how would I put it, is the visa to take decisions on matters that affect your country. Mm-hmm. So it determines whether you're going to be on this side as post-elections, or you're going to Nigeria moves forward, or you go, but we go backwards.
So no fence sitting, you just have to participate. And the conversation for young people is getting louder and louder. And many are asking, at what point are we likely to understand if this whole noise about, oh, have you collected your PVC, I'm going to vote, will actually mean genuine change for the people?
Okay, as we've seen, there was a drive to register. Most people thought that, we naturally thought that would be the end. People will naturally pick what they've registered for, but we found out being Nigeria, there has to be a drive also to pick up cards. That's ended today, I think. And then now we're going to move to the new drive to pay attention to voting. I would say, from what we've noticed and data we've picked up, the next drive will be, and that's looking forward post-elections, will be to push people into political parties.
Speaking of data now, it brings us to the Electoral College. Let's look at the Electoral College so that we can better understand what we're likely to gain from your team. So for this election, what are the key concerns of the Electoral College?
Our major concern and the reason why we're probably set up is basically political illiteracy by voters. So we have a very complex situation where people will say, okay, I want to vote for so-so person as president, when even in the candidate's manifesto, the person is talking about things that a president cannot achieve based on the Constitution. And then, let's not even go down to the National Assembly and State House of Assembly, who promise executive functions while their actions are actually legislative.
And the electorate may not know about that.
It's so sad that it's not just the electorate that knows. This is even within political parties, and this is people serving in office. So it's a whole, I'll tell you, the average person in legislative position assumes that his work is just constituency projects. And now we need to mark this at this point, that constituency projects are not constitutional. They're not backed by the Constitution. So the primary functions are, of course, making an amendment of bills, and then executive oversight, which is totally not done, as we've seen, or is done to almost a very minimal level by the National Assembly. You have people who've served 14 years, 15 years. In State House of Assembly, it's even worse. There are people that don't even know how to write a bill, talk less of even pushing one. So it's a massive problem. You have people walking out of the 10th Assembly now with 0 bills passed.
And that is why there should be some kind of conversation whereby when we talk about town hall meetings or town halls, it should also be populated by people from your own side, like the Electoral College and other, similar NGOs, so that they can better pose and also dissect, because they're coming from an angle of knowledge.
We've seen a lot of this kind of situations. Yes, we've tried to expand. Nigeria is a big country. Doing this work is going to take a lot. Over the last 3 years, we've been able to educate virtually over 10,000 students, and we're planning to. Physically, we've passed that, surpassed that amount. That's the 10,000 that's virtual. But now, here comes the problem. So, a common tagline we've been called is the opposition's opposition. So it's funny, and you wonder why this comes out. Okay, this is funny because in the interest of galvanizing support, a popular candidate, will say something that everybody just shout, yay! But in real sense, he doesn't have the constitutional backing to make such a statement. And when we come out with, okay, we're not against your candidate, he doesn't have the constitutional power to do this. Everybody now feels, because we kind of take politics personal in this part of the world, they feel we are attacking the candidate or we have taken sides with another candidate. So, it's kind of hard trying to stand the line, trying to push forward what really matters.
And for the people, that's one hand about the politician who is at sea as to what exactly the responsibility of his office is about, that he's seeking the people's mandate. Now, let's speak about the electorate. We'll come back to the politicians. The electorate should also know. And in the case where they don't know, who helps them in that? Because there's a gap. I spoke to INEC not too long here on the square, yes, on the HQ, and I said to Professor Sokoye, you are sensitizing the people, but the political parties are not doing that, and the NGOs are also doing that, but there's a deficit. At what point are we likely to ensure that we have an enlightened electorate that will be going to the polls in the next 31 days, specifically knowing that there is an electoral art in place that many may not understand, that is not the usual voting style?
I'll give you, I love the fact you mentioned the Electoral Act. Yes, there's a massive deficit. We have a 93.4 million voting population right now. To have how would I put it? To have an election that, would be considered highly democratic, it will mean that at least 40 million of those people participating are politically literate. Now, herein lies the problem. 28 million, which was our last number of total people that voted, we are projecting we will not even hit 40 million voters in these elections. Yeah. And this is not because we're against anything. We're just looking at people's direction and their thought processes. Now, we need to clearly define, okay, this 40 million that will participate, how much do they know about the exact positions they're going to vote for? I can give you an example. Okay. People have nicknames for a few presidential candidates they are following. That's a few within the, some parties. They have nicknames. They'll call you this one, the articulated, the obedience, the Kwankwaseas, the Batified. They have nicknames. If you ask any one of those voters, okay, down the line, who's running for House of Rep? And you have a total
silence.
It goes off. Who's running for Senate? Why are you voting this person for Senate? The person is like, okay, you know what? I'm going to vote Labour Party, President, Senate, House of Rep. I'm going to vote APC. You can't continue voting that way. That is totally politically illiterate. Because in the end, you now find out this person, and you're like, I didn't vote for him. Oh, but you voted for the party. And, you know, it's not the name on the ballot, it's the party logo. And we've reached that point where I also think political parties benefit from the fact...
Wait a minute. I think that's very instructive. Not the name of your candidate on the ballot,
yes,
but the party's logo. And it's very instructive that the people should know that, because some already know their candidates only by, you know, facial recognition, that that's my candidate. And perhaps how much of, you know, sensitization have you been able to gather from political parties, enlighten the people about the logo, about the insignia of their political parties? Because if that's what it is, then it looks as if they haven't actually done enough.
Okay, so in Nigeria, you have a little quagmire. In other countries, political parties groom, bring up candidates, and then bring them out. It kind of forms a balance. So it's kind of a party thing. And then in other countries, you have a lot of people, far more than we, let's just say half of our voting population, will be in a political party. Then that half and another half will vote. Now, that massive number in that political party ensures that at least a lot of people understand the ideology of the party, understand the direction. Now, here's the problem in Nigeria. When you join the political party takes from you. I've been a candidate before, so I know this. So it takes from you. Campaign form takes from you. Campaign funds takes from you. Why should I follow your ideology when I get elected, when I've actually spent my entire money getting things done? So we have a problem between individuality of candidates and party, party supremacy. So you have a fight constantly, and hence you have the problems that we have in political parties in Nigeria.
And you know, let's talk a bit about INEC. INEC has said that it is prepared, and that preparation, I asked Kacha Ononuju, who is a Labour Party man on the show, about, you know, movement. Now we're talking about logistics, genuine logistics, not the political logistics. You know, when politicians speak of logistics, it's quite a different one. And that's why they were not too happy with the central bank governor and his naira, you know, change. But when they're moving materials from one point to the other, now let me paint it for you now so that you understand. I want you to speak to this. For an average Nigerian who does not understand the name for the transport union, which is NURTW, National Union of Road Transport Workers, some people will call them, well, derogatory word, an agbero. But you're using the same union, and that same union has also been accused that some members of that union across the country are political stooges of politicians. And these are the same people that will be hired to help transport voting materials for INEC on the day. How does that sit well in an election where you know that it just might be a little bit worrisome for some people to know that those people transporting these materials are members of that same union?
Okay. You know, when you asked this question, what was running through my mind was, of all the things you could have asked, that one. And I find there are a lot of bigger things that are even before that. So the Electoral Act states that, I think somewhere 91(3) of the Electoral Act states that no state or media can support any candidate. Indirectly, that means if you're serving in office, not if you're not in elected office, that's you're serving in office, meaning you're appointed to be a commissioner, DG, or you know, a position, you can, or even minister, no offense, but you can't serve and be a spokesman or be whatever, because the state or its media cannot, and you are part of the state structure, or media cannot support a candidate. Now this gets funny. In Nigeria, we have spokesmen that are ministers, no offense to any party, but that's the situation. That's a bigger problem from the beginning. So now you're now going to go back to NURTW, which is even a private arm being brought in And it's not a government arm, and it's being brought in to transport materials, sensitive materials, in a situation. Let me just go back a bit. We're even having a problem transporting people in Nigeria. No offense.
What really should also worry some people the issue of late arrival. Every time INEC, it's the same INEC, I mean, the only difference is the leadership. Now, over time, INEC has always assured Nigerians of prompt distribution of voting materials. And every time that promise is made in any election, I mean, when we go out to cover elections, we see some communities where those materials come in late. So are we likely, are you optimistic that this just might be a different election where we won't have electorates complaining of late arrival of materials?
I won't like to take the efforts of INEC away from them. I know they're trying. But there's something we always seem to skip when we're in Nigeria, the Nigerian factor. So I've given you this contract to do this. Somebody can just say his wife's birthday was yesterday, they partied all night and he came late and handled it late. And that's how we tend to approach things of national interest. And once that exists, it's going to be hard for us to achieve anything. People will say Nigeria's size. Elections are conducted in India. India has over 1 billion people. The landmass is far larger than Nigeria. So what are we saying in Nigeria? The US, the same. What are you talking about? China, let's not even go into that. We're totally not close. So I think it's the psyche of the Nigerian people. We built a culture around democracy. And that culture is not built from laws that exist or the Electoral Act or the Constitution. It's built from what we've actually thought politics should be. So if you go back, nobody should say Nigerians just started, spending money on politics. No. In 1959, Chief Obafemi Awolowo was flying a helicopter. Do you know what a helicopter was in 1959? There are videos you can check on YouTube. And a helicopter in 1959 was like having a B-52 now. So they were using it to move around. So Nigerians have always been excessive. We've created a culture of politics which is built around individuality, not necessarily efficiency or no national identity. We've built something around tribes. We've built something about inefficiency. That culture.
So it looks to me as if there's not truly a change in our campaigns and in our political journey. Now that you've just painted or just reminded us of what happened in the First Republic.
I'll put it simply: as long as snakes and monkeys are still swallowing money, we're still in the same place.
And for those who are optimistic about this election, saying that this election may actually define what future the country should have in the next 4 or 8 years or going forward. What are those indices that will run such statements when we say this is the election that could actually cause a big change for the country in Nigeria?
I think first and foremost, the game changer is 37% are young people. About 42% are voting for the first time.
42.
That's high. So it means two things. If this 42% actually care about this country, it's enough to alter an election. But if they decide to just be Nigerian about things, we know that a lot of money spray goes 2 days before elections, and they just decide to follow, accept 5K polling unit money. We're going down the drain as usual. So I don't want to be pessimistic. I love my country. I'm just looking at the chances are there for us to make the change. For us at this point, with the kind of losses in the economy, the naira falling to where it is now, we have a serious problem. But will Nigerians take this as a deciding moment? It's up to Nigerians. So no one can say exactly how it's going to go. But if Nigerians take this election as serious as they took 2015, I think we might be able to alter the status quo.
So now, 2015, not 2019.
No.
So what did Nigerians do differently in 2015?
So for 2015, for the first time, you had over 50% of Nigerian voting population participating in an election. We had that in 2015. In 2015, Nigerians were ready to offer governance to people whom they thought could give them change. And it wasn't whether the party was 9 years old, it was 10 years old. This party was less than 4 months old, and they delivered the elections to that party. Those are very two strong denominators that if this chooses to play this time, then we might have a change. If it doesn't, then it's more of the same.
And Kunle, what about security? Security is a big concern going into this election.
Excuse me. Yes, security has always been an issue. And let's be honest, Nigeria has its highest security challenges presently. Situations in southeast, northeast, major parts of the north central are not encouraging. Even the southwest is beginning to creep on. I think Nigeria has a lot to do with security preceding the election. I will not be surprised, and I can't be quoted here, please, but this is my personal opinion. I will not be surprised if, for security reasons, most likely the election is pushed back a little bit.
And and that is even as INEC has assured the people that, it's not going back on the date.
Well, we're looking at the actions against INEC offices, which are becoming more rampant by the day. Attack on officers and private citizens, which is growing so much in the southeast. I don't know. There might be a situation for that. It depends on what happens within the next 1 or 2 weeks. They're crucial for what happens next.
And lastly, for the messages that candidates have been reeling out to the electorates, what would you say to the electorates in trying to, sieve the message that they're getting from across political parties?
If I were to have a chance to tell the electorate something, I would say we're in a democracy. No president can save a country. If we're going to save Nigeria, the strongest arm in a democracy is the legislative. We really should be concerned with who's going into the National Assembly. Right now, everybody is just hailing everybody, supporting one presidential candidate. And some usual suspects are creeping into the National Assembly that I don't even want to dream of how a National Assembly would look like if this guy is creeping. We also, as Nigerians, should be very concerned about local governments. And I always say local government is the first handshake of democracy to the people. They also do not have immunity. And I know this is not a local government election coming up, but it's important we start to pay attention to these two arms. If not, I don't see a change regardless of who comes into. I feel if Obama comes into, assumes presidency of Nigeria, let's say he can, I don't think he can do much with the present National Assembly.
So the whole campaign or idea of looking at the presidential candidates is actually overshadowing the importance of our democracy, which is the legislative arm.
Yes, when you look at the way Nigerians have voted and you look at the way Nigerians have thought about things and have put people in the National Assembly, it clearly shows that therein lies the problem. If you have a strong National Assembly, Mr. President, regardless of who he is, will not be able to act out of line, and that matters.
Kunle Lawal, Executive Director, Electoral College, Nigeria. Many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you very much, Sulaiman. Always a pleasure.